physical and verbal tells are a huge part of playing against amateurs, especially when you're a huge pro who's known for playing against amateurs, like Mr. Phil Hellmuth.
14-time bracelet winner.
Oh, he's great. I mean, he's known for destroying amateurs, right, this guy?
He can read people's souls. Let's not forget that.
That might not be the case in the hand we're about to show you. It seems like he might ignore all of the evidence.
Yeah, this is a cash game from PokerStars The Big Game from about 4 years ago. This hand was suggested to us by iHeartGoddessDavi on Twitter. If you have a suggestion for us, tweet it at us.
Action folds over to Kata, who's out. Hellmuth raises. King, queen for Fishman.
I don't win very many pots from this spot, so in a fit of discipline.
Fishman calls. Perkins is out. Williams.
An absolute fit.
Calls.
David Williams in real bad shape with a real loose defend. Maybe a little tilty from that last hand.
Deuce, jack, ace, 2 clubs. Action flop.
This looks like a fun board.
Williams checks bottom pair. Hellmuth checks top pair. Fishman leads out with a semi-bluff. Williams folds. Hellmuth raises.
This is a pretty easy call with a flush draw, gut shot, and 2 big cards.
This seems like a bad check raise by Phil Hellmuth against the amateur. Phil has essentially the worst ace he can have here, and I don't know what he's hoping to get called by.
I think he's trying to charge clubs at the same time as doing the old school pro informational raise, which we are not really advocates of here at Hand of the Week.
Yeah, and sometimes the pros will level each other and make a check raise with a hand like this because they know they're going to get called by, one pair hands like Jack 10 or something. But that will never happen against a guy like David Fishman in this spot when Phil check raises. So all he can do is what you're talking about. The problem is when Fishman has a hand just like he has, he's always going to at least call, and sometimes he's going to re-raise, and then Phil's going to fold the best hand. That can really happen here.
Yeah, you don't want to be folding the best hand. The only thing I can say in possible defense of Hellmuth's check raise here is that maybe he has some sizing thing he's picked up on Fishman, where when Fishman bets pretty big here, he bets 3,000 into 3,800, that means that Fishman has a draw. And I'm grasping at straws here. I don't know if this is true or not. But if it is, then Hellmuth is maybe going to charge him a bit for the draw and feels like he can get away from it if the likely draws come in.
Maybe. Also, perhaps, not just sizing-wise, Hellmuth has a laser-like read on Mr. Fishman.
I don't think so, based on what happens later.
I'm saying it's possible.
And there it is by Fishman. 5 of hearts on the turn gives Hellmuth 2 pair. He bets 15 grand.
We know Fishman isn't getting great immediate odds since his pairs are still no good, but PH could be doing this with worse flush draws, and he's got enough behind for decent implied odds.
Add it all up, and Fishman makes the call.
He's looking for a club or a 10.
The river. There's the 10 completing the straight.
Fishman swims the upstream battle and runs down the great one.
Action on Hellmuth.
23,600.
Bets 23-6.
23,600 into a $45,000 pot.
This is pretty dirty. Fishman's reverse pedaling the nuts. Clearly, he's going to raise. The only question is how much, and can he get Phil to call?
I'm not going to let you do this to me again, Phil. I can't let you do this to me again.
Leonardo DiCaprio could not be selling this any better.
How much you got behind? Was there an answer to that?
Like 85 or something.
I'm all in.
Fishman shoves.
He even fake hesitated. Watch that Oscar, Leo.
I'm done, Phil.
I see method acting, improv, pantomime. If Phil calls here, the kid stays in the picture.
This is so sick. I mean, is it possible that I just get cooled every hand I play here? You got king, queen of clubs? I mean, I guess so.
Phil's put him on his exact hand. But if he does make this call, the loose cannon will have a profit of more than $140,000 and will be poised to take down that NAPT passport.
God, all that talking leads me to believe. Wow.
Now, that might be real. I'd certainly be shaking either way.
All right, I call.
Hellmuth calls and sees king, queen of clubs.
If you guys want to see Phil Hellmuth blow up Mount Hellmuth to erupt, then wait until after the comments because we will show that. But for now, we're just going to talk about the gameplay and what happens here. So before we go into any of the crazy tells that David Fishman gives off, let's just talk about if this is an okay call from a gameplay perspective.
Yeah, this is probably not a profitable call against almost all opponents almost all the time. Some opponents, some of the really crafty, high-end opponents might turn a hand like Queen 10 of clubs into a bluff once in a while, or King 10 of clubs into a bluff, or just miss clubs even into a bluff. But usually they're not going to when you check raise flop and bet pot on the turn. You just look super strong. And by the way, when you bet 23K on the river, it looks like you're trying to induce a ship, right? So I don't know. I think this is probably almost always a fold against almost everybody.
Even if this was on the internet and Phil could not see any of these tells, he really should be folding because what is Fishman doing this with? Ace Queen? No, he's not doing this with Ace Queen.
No,
That's
he's not.
insane. This guy doesn't have it in him to do it with Queen 10 of clubs. Keep in mind, this guy's a school teacher.
School teacher.
He's a school teacher, which Bill Perkins will tell you a lot about if you wait till after the comments to see the blow up. He's not going to turn Queen 10 of clubs into a bluff here. This is huge money. He just bet $97,000.
Yeah, there's no way he's giving away his entire shot at the big game and whatever money he might win right here if he doesn't have it. Like, for sure. So forgetting about playing against a pro, this guy is never bluffing this card in this spot anyway.
Right. So now let's talk about the more obvious reasons that Phil Hellmuth needs to be folding here.
Yeah.
The first one is this. Fishman sees Phil's bet of $23,600, totally normal bet. He's betting half the pot.
Yeah.
He says this.
$23,600 into a $45,000 pot?
I mean, come on. Like, you're acting as if that's strange when there's nothing strange about that bet. Hellmuth just bet pot the street before, so now he's betting half pot. If anything, you'd be happy that it was less, so he makes it sound like it's a weird bet. And why is he doing that? There's only one reason, to justify a future raise.
Pro tip, if anybody ever acts like something that's completely normal is strange and they act confused about it at the poker table, they're really strong and they're about to raise you.
Yeah, that or they're really high. It's definitely one of the other.
It's got to be one of those things. And then after that, Fishman does the whole "you've been beating up on me" thing and says this.
I'm not going to let you do this to me again, Phil. I can't let you do this to me again.
Twice.
Yeah, by the way, I don't even know that Phil has been beating up on him at all in this game, but maybe a tiny, tiny bit. But you would never say this if you were then going to raise as a bluff because you're explaining your bluff as you go. And you know what people don't do, especially amateurs? That. They don't ever do that.
If Fishman was bluffing, he wouldn't have been saying any of this. He would have been terrified. Even if he had a bluff in him, which I don't think he has a bluff in him.
Correct. He doesn't have the bluff in him, but if somehow, some way he could like reach deep and do it, he would keep his damn mouth shut. That's for sure.
So after all of this consternation by Fishman, for some reason he needs to know exactly how much money Phil Hellmuth has.
Why would he need to know that, I wonder?
Well, I don't know. Maybe because he's going to go all in.
Because he's got the nuts.
As Phil Hellmuth takes his time counting his chips, Fishman looks really happy and laughs, as you guys can see, and he says,
How much you got behind? Was there an answer to that?
Like 85.
Just look how happy he is. Look at the laughter. Look how comfortable he looks. But not that it matters. We have all the information we need from long ago already. But just this would solidify it anyway if Hellmuth was just looking at him, paying attention, and thinking it all.
And then Fishman moves in, and then he says this.
Big hesitated. Watch that Oscar, Leo.
I'm done, Phil.
I see method acting.
Like, how can Hellmuth ever think that he's good here? This guy has the nuts almost exclusively at this point.
Yeah, also, even just watch the way he moves in right here.
I'm all in.
I mean, the pump fake thing, like, come on, like the I'm angry, I'm just going to do it, I'm going to show you, all that stuff. He's just trying to tell a story to justify his move in that he's saying, like, it isn't my cards aren't the reason I'm moving, and it's all these other reasons. But you know who does that? Guys who are super, super strong.
Yeah, I don't see how Hellmuth doesn't end up picking up on this. To be fair to Phil, he's really good against amateurs usually, so that's the strangest part about all of this.
It's like he's just not even looking at the guy. And by the way, if you watch right here,
Now, that might be real. I'd certainly be shaking either way.
he's shaking like a leaf. His hand is shaking. Phil could just look over and see that. That's yet another sign of extreme strength.
To be fair, sometimes shaking is weakness, but I'd say the majority of the time it's strength. And this is a huge moment for this guy, obviously. This is going to increase his net worth tenfold probably if he wins this pot.
Yeah, this is such a big spot for David Fishman, and the fact that Phil Hellmuth refuses to look at any of the data in front of him and throws out a call in a spot where even without the data, it's highly suspect as a call. Highly. It just makes this maybe the worst call I think the worst call we've ever done, and I think the worst call Phil Hellmuth ever made on TV, and he's made some bad ones.
Right, and of course he's also made good plays, but this was just a massive mistake, and you just can't ignore the physical tells.
Stick around after this to see Mount Hellmuth erupt, as well as comments from users from last week's video.
You guys really should stick around. That's going to be pretty fun to watch, and also a little bit disturbing.
It's bad.
So,
Pretty bad.
If you guys want to see another really bad call, check out Mark Newhouse versus Bill Cole by clicking here.
Also, check out our podcast and make sure you subscribe.
So last week, we had a show that was rightfully called Two Maniacs because it was two guys just kind of going nuts on each other at the end of day 3 of the World Series. And a guy ends up making a big hero call that's Henry Van Tran with deuce 3 off when he hits a deuce on the river. Let's hear what you guys had to say.
Yeah, X-Trader says, Henry Tran makes a great call. However, what was his plan if he didn't hit a pair on the river? Was he going to shove over Alcobar's bet? If he did shove, he's for sure getting called by a 9, an overpair like 10s, or maybe even a 7, since it wouldn't be for that much more, and only folding out ace-high, king-high hands. Risky play by Tran.
I agree with X-Trader. That's a really good point. I think since it went check-check on the turn, Tran was just kind of giving up on the hand and happened to hit a card that he was able to make a hero call with on the river. I don't think there was necessarily a plan for a river once the flop didn't work.
Yeah, I don't think the plan, Henry Tran was thinking, I'm just going to shove when this guy bets, especially when he bets 2/3 of my remaining stack with 3 high and after this action and think it's going to work. No, I agree completely. He's just completely giving up and then makes a pair and thinks, oh, there's a way I can win now. I can hero. This can work. And indeed it did.
Right. So another comment was from Peter O'Neill, longtime listener and viewer. He says, I think Tran's small 4-bet pre is not to set up a 6-bet shove, but more just to take the initiative in the hand and make it easier to play later in position with the betting lead, where he thinks he may just be able to c-bet and take it down a lot. His sizing also looks super strong in my opinion, and may prevent him from getting 6-bet too often, as it's hard to put him on total air here after 4-betting to a size that won't really get any folds. That's a great point, Peter. I mean, we totally agree with that.
Yeah.
The 6-betting thing was just kind of a little theory we had. Maybe there was some leveling more going on between them, but this seems to make just as much sense, if not more.
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe Henry Tran is often going to be 6-betting all in at the end of day 3 with 3 deuce off. I mean, I don't think that's his plan to do it. So I agree with Peter completely, unlike this guy who mostly does.
Hey, I think that it's still quite possible that he's just trying. I mean, when you're 4-betting with deuce 3 off, you're really maybe trying to bluff at some point.
See, if a club comes, I don't lose 1 nickel in this hand.
What a pot for Fishman.
I mean,
10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
can I even play in this game? I mean, what the they find? I mean, what the? I mean, how can I even play in this game? It's like I just get cheated. I mean, hand after hand after hand.
Don't blame the dealer. We all know it's the seat that's unlucky.
Give the amateur an offsuit 10. I don't lose 1 nickel if he hits a club. It's unreal. Where are these cards coming from?
David Fishman, with 53 hands left, has a 6-figure profit, and he can taste that NAPT passport.
And you know what? I would have called him quicker, except he talked so much that I thought he was super strong. But I know he can't move in with ace-10.
That was a great read, by the way. You had him.
You're a real classy guy, buddy. You are.
Who? Him?
You.
Why? What did I do?
Why would you say that? I mean, why would you, I mean, what are you trying to do? The guy hits a miracle 10 on me, and what, you want to just step
He's
on
a
me?
school teacher, and you and him have endless trunks of money. Endless trunks of money. He's a school teacher. For God's sakes, man.
Screaming will do you a lot of good.
Oh, my God.
What a goof.